Sweet.
This needs to be up.
Okay. I got it. Hello?
Should we start again?
No, that's fine.
No, because then it starts from right at the beginning.
Yeah, they can skip. You can skip.
Okay.
It's flawed. We're flawed.
I have a bit of a sore throat.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Remy, and this is my mom.
Yeah, or D, Reyes.
Yeah, Remy Beckham.
We didn't introduce ourselves. This is how
Yeah, so we're rectifying.
amateur we are.
Super amateur, and we're rectifying for those problems that we had last time. We didn't introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
So there, hope that rectifies that. Yeah.
So we've got a checklist from what we did last time, and we sort of looked at it and went, maybe we should have said this, because let's face it, we're all our own worst critics. So there's a few things. Do you want to start?
Yeah. So what I said last time about you're not okay the way you are, that was coming from a personal place of like me being a bad critic on myself. And essentially I kind of want to turn that around and be like, you actually are okay where you are. When it comes to like addiction and drug abuse and stuff, sometimes for lack of a better phrase, you do need to self-medicate. Sometimes there are things that can relieve your stress that tiniest bit, and if it's, I don't know, if it is that glass of wine or joint or whatever it is you're doing to,
We don't advocate.
definitely don't advocate for it.
No.
Oh, this is so rough. Let's start again.
No, you don't get to start again. So you didn't let me start again. No, I just think, okay, so the whole thing is, I think addiction and things like that are perpetuated for not being okay with who you are. So when you're not okay with who you are, and we talked about this at the end of the podcast last time, it's like a disconnection, talking about connection and disconnection.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing that I learned with my studies, and it's a constant battle with shame and all sorts of things, is to be okay with who you are. It's so hard because we're sort of brought up and we hate certain things about ourselves and we're shy about things. And it's when we are like that, then maybe that's when we start drinking, or, you know, to push it down, or there's so many issues and we need to like get away from them. We don't know how to behave. And also because in our society, it's okay to drink. In fact, if you don't drink, it's actually looked upon as like, why not? What's wrong with you? Right.
Although we are getting more into it with non-alcoholic beverages being promoted more or less. But in terms of that being your own worst judge, there's a weird like time aspect on it, which is like you have your ideal of who you wish you were in the future, like who you want to be, but then you have all the traumas and frustrations and stresses of the present and past. So therefore it's going to be so much easier to reach for that drink and get drunk and just alleviate yourself from those stresses. But the dissonance, the disconnection, as we're saying, it comes from, you know who you want to be, or you know what you want to be doing, you know what's good for you, but you just can't make that connection within yourself to make sense of it, because you do need to relieve the stress. And that's why it is okay that you are dealing with it however you're dealing with it, and that's the best thing you can do. And I just don't want to demonize anyone for, you know, as I said, self-medicating or whatever, but I only said it from my own experience. I am my own worst judge, and I would always say to myself, like, no, you're not okay the way you are, because I have this ideal of who I want to be. And I'd tell my friends, like, I want to be like, quote unquote, dad ready. And in my eyes, that's like, what does it take to be that? And now I'm just working on trying to achieve that ideal, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Right. So you want to be dad ready?
Dad ready. Yeah. I coined that term. Yeah.
Dad ready. You're going to get the dad bod and everything. But yeah, talking about, look, I'm guilty, you know, with, I love wine. Obviously, I'm doing dry July, which I've called die July because I haven't been able to like have, you know, a glass of wine here and there that I'm used to.
Why die July?
Oh, it's a struggle.
Oh, so you're like F you, July. Like you just want July to be over so you can
Not
have
really. In the same sense, I'm finding it liberating
Mm.
because part of it is like not liberating because it's really difficult to stop any kind of thing that you've been doing for so long.
Yeah.
But part of it is liberating because I feel more on point, I feel more healthy, feel less tired, I've got more energy. So, you know, that's it. But just stopping the habit is really difficult.
Right. I like how you coined it die July because in terms of habits and things that we do, things that our personality is made up of that makes you do certain things and it's who you are. I like to think of almost like a part of you dying. So that addicted aspect of you, like for example, I would probably, and I'm sorry for bringing this up, but
Please don't.
I would probably like a few years ago, I would have probably considered myself a stoner, and essentially, I've had to let that character in me or that personality trait to die in order to become a new person. And I think that's really interesting in terms of your identity. Like the book Atomic Habits by James Clear talks about how habitual things that you do resonate heaps with your identity or who you think you are. And yeah, in terms of die July, like maybe you want a bit of the addictive personality to die or something like that.
Yeah, like you want to change in lifestyle sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a good challenge, but it's not easy. And just talking, because I think what we were going to talk about is disconnection and connection.
Right.
And how do you feel connected, and part of feeling disconnected is going to have a drink and to sort of get rid of things, because there are a lot of the clients that come and see me, they sort of like a disconnection. They're always thinking and not feeling. Like there's a disconnection from the head down. So if I ask somebody like, where do you feel that in your body? They kind of it's very foreign because they're not used to thinking and
I love this
feeling
concept
about the tensions and how we hold them in our body. Like trauma is one thing, but it is really interesting. And then we do this thing of being able to make things logical or fixed ideas without feeling into them.
Right.
So knowing what somebody, like checking in with yourself from here down, can let you know whether you're connected or not. That's
a really good thing to bring up, especially for people that are over analytical, like the very heady kind of people. Because I think there's also, on the other side of it, there are people that can viscerally feel like when you say something, you might feel a certain way in your gut, like the gut feeling, and like you can feel things viscerally in your body in terms of like what's going on. Like when someone's in a bad mood and they walk past me, sometimes I like shiver, like, oh my God, do not get on the wrong side of that person.
Yeah, the tension in the room.
Yeah, you can really feel
Is that when I'm angry? Like you can feel it?
Yeah.
You can say it.
Yeah.
You know, you can say it.
But it's
and
with
I
everyone.
feel you when you're really low or down or angry or, like,
yeah,
I feel that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think what you're
hear it.
talking about is the opposite of the dissonance, where you're trying to form a connection between one's thought process and one's like bodily feelings. Like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. How do you know that you're disconnected if you're not like really embodying a wholeness about yourself and where you're at here as well as like here? If I'm trying to think about when I start getting really angry, I have to kind of check in and go, what's going on? Or I don't do it all the time, mind you. I'm not a saint, but like thinking about, oh, I'm getting upset. I'm like, what's happening for me? Because you get lost.
Yeah.
You really get lost. It's like, is that actually mine or is that the other person's? Or
Yeah, well, it's funny how you bring that up because if anyone's familiar with like breath work, what's his name? Wim Hof, Andrew Huberman, if you like biomechanics and stuff, he's super great for that kind of thing. But he would say when it comes to being angry, you're gonna like start huffing and puffing, hyperventilating. And when you hyperventilate, that's like the accelerator for your body. So if you're hyperventilating, breathing heats, and you're angry, it's like, which one comes first? Hyperventilating, and then you're angry, or angry and you're hyperventilating? They kind of like,
where's the trigger?
They're kind of both the same thing. And that's why Wim Hof is an interesting one, because you consciously hyperventilate. So therefore you activate your adrenals, and therefore you can jump into cold water and not get sick.
Right.
You can do these funny things. And it's because you're activating the adrenaline, but you're removed from the emotion of anger. So if you're starting to get sick, like get the sniffles, it's actually useful to hyperventilate, do the Wim Hof thing, and you can activate your adrenal glands, and therefore telling your body you need to fight off like a virus or something. And that's where, things like adrenaline is useful. And it's funny when you bring up anger, it doesn't really serve you these days. Like,
no, sometimes it does, because how can you step in your power or stand up for yourself? Sometimes there's a righteous anger.
Right. I love
you
that.
know what I mean? Like, you
exactly.
can't disavow any of the emotions, but sometimes there's anger because we're sad, or we're feeling lost, or we're taking it out, like, who knows? But like, you can't go, that emotion's not right, or that one is right, because they're all right in a certain way, and maybe it's getting to the bottom of why.
Yeah, that reminds me of times where I would feel anger towards a certain person that you would know is very, very close to me. And like, sometimes you get in this white rage where, like, I don't even know if you can see it, this white rage, everyone gets it, where you will say the most clear and concise thing. It could be totally filled with profanities and swear words, but I'd like to be as clear as possible when I get into that white rage, like, this is how I feel in this moment. And yeah, it's fun. It's nice.
Is it fun? Is it nice? I'm not really sure that those words are associated with that white rage.
It's nice for me because I'm not like an angry person.
So if you didn't get that, then you would not stand up for yourself.
No, I wouldn't be a full human if I never got angry. Like, I know people that would say, Rem, I've never seen you angry. I doubt you would ever get angry. And it's like,
people say that to me too.
Yeah. And it's like, well, clearly you haven't seen all of me yet,
And we've all got it. We're all human. That's the basis of us discussing this, because, like, we are all kind of carrying all these emotions and dealing with it.
That's right. And emotions are cool, but as long as you don't let them override you.
Okay, how about this? Emotions are cool. The awareness of the emotion is cooler. You know? Right?
Yeah, like that analogy of, like, you have a bus and they're filled with a bunch of emotions. Which emotion do you want steering the bus? Or I don't know if emotion's the right word, but what personality trait or whatever do you want steering the bus? And I think it goes, you want wisdom. You want wisdom to steer the bus, because violence is never okay, but it's still part of the repertoire of our humanness. And I remember hearing someone talk about violence where it was acceptable, and there's plenty of places, like, if you let's bring it to the animal kingdom, so it's not so, like, barbed wire topic, but, like, if a lioness is bringing up a cub and the lioness is about to walk over to, like, a lake full of crocodiles and hippos or whatever, then the lioness striking that cub away from the lagoon that's a virtuous act. And it's not, there's times where violence
it's like,
is okay.
Okay, in layman terms as well, to say, being a parent, and then your child's going to run across the road, it's okay to grab them back and maybe, like, I don't know if that's very controversial at the moment, but like, it's not even like that. It could just be like this, or don't do that, as long as you're not doing it, like, constantly every day, but it's a danger thing, or don't touch the hot thing, a little tap.
And this is where the wisdom is in control. When wisdom is behind your actions, whether they're emotional or not, that's when it's fine.
How about this too? Like, nothing's black and white.
No.
It actually has to, the action has to suit the scenario. So you can't have prescriptive, this is what you do if this happens, or this is, because it's so individual.
That's right. But you know, I still like heuristics and like rules of thumb, because these things can remind you structure. Yeah, they remind you. What else did we?
There is another thing that I'll just say, the heart math. So there's a thing to work with that it connects your brain with your heart. It's actually scientific. So if you can sort of breathe into your heart and think about your heart, it lowers blood pressure, lowers all sorts of things. Some people wear monitors for it.
Is this a Joe Dispenza thing?
No, this is actually, it's called the Heart Math Institute. You
Joe
can Google
Dispenza
it.
talks about it.
Yeah, he talks about, a lot of people talk about it. So, you know, it's actually about regulating your feelings. So you're in here, but you have to sort of go into the heart and sort of breathe through, and it regulates somehow.
Yeah, it's scientific. Like they've got it down to a science. And essentially, like, there's another Japanese study where it says if you take 6 conscious breaths, you will change your mood. Like, it will get better if you take 6 conscious breaths.
But they have to be conscious. That's the key. You can just do the breathing.
Yeah.
And if it's not conscious, I find that what helps with clients is like to breathe with them.
Right.
Because you can be conscious for them a little bit.
It's almost like holding their hand through it. Like, and what I find funny about that is, like, you know, a lot of people say like, oh, how are you going? And then they respond with busy. I'm busy. And that's fine. But I find, like,
sorry about that,
even with myself and everyone, you know, we're like in this fight or flight lifestyle where we're really just trying to make ends meet, and we're so busy we don't have a second to take those 6 conscious breaths. But the way I see it, like, essentially, if you're watching this or listening to this right now, like, you're in a privileged state just to be spending your time watching this. It's pretty amazing, because those times of fight or flight, you don't even have a second to, I don't know, bring yourself to an awareness to let yourself know that, oh, like, actually I am okay. I'm in a good space. And just to take a time out, like, I don't know if it's lame or weird to say this, but even just pause this video, listen to your surroundings and see what.
Yeah, the pause.
Yeah.
If you pause, if you stop, if you check in, nobody has to answer things straight away, you know. Take that break, but take it with yourself. It's really important to kind of like, it's all about the awareness and consciousness of feelings.
Yeah, and to take a break from that hippie stuff. I was gonna rectify something I said last time, which was about just comparing eastern suburbs and western suburbs and just stereotyping people. That was really lame of me, and I didn't
put yourself down.
Not putting myself down, but like, it's just funny when you see people.
It's kind of true in a way as well. Like what you said, is there is a truth about it too.
Yeah,
you know?
fair enough. But it made me feel, after I watched it back through, and after watching it, I was like, you know, it makes sense. I'm sure people resonate, but at the same time, like, it's too easy to stereotype people. It's too easy to judge people and put them in a box. And once you do that, you've restricted all kinds of meanings that could have come out of it.
And we can't really help sometimes when we do that, because our first impressions, let's be honest, you know what I mean? Like, first impressions talk about race or gender or even religion, or, you know, whatever our biases are underneath that, it has a role to play when we do sort of look at someone. And maybe from the eastern suburbs, if we've grown up in the western suburbs, we might think that we're less than,
or just being hit with the difference. It's like a culture shock, but so funny, it's not even that far away, but there's still a difference in culture. And I guess
that's society too. Like, that's systemic. Like, that comes from the view of like collective, what other people think too, just impregnates in us as well. Like, we pick up the thoughts of you know, what people actually think and what society thinks. We got to recognize that too, when it's not just ours, it actually belongs to
I love that you say that, because I'll find myself in small talk with people and I'll literally be watching myself, and I'll say something to somebody that I know somebody else has said before. And it's like, why did I say that? Do I just want to fill space, or do I want to feel like I'm in the know or a part of something? And it's interesting how, if you watch yourself, you understand that you say things that aren't even from you. You're saying things from other people, and that's a really interesting thing to realize.
Yeah.
So that was cool. What else?
What else? How long have you checked the time?
It's been like 20 minutes.
Okay, all right. So just thinking about like we were talking about connection and disconnection, and I was just wondering, what is your go-to to feel connected?
That's a great one. It's huge question. Personally, I think I'm lucky to have cultivated some kind of reverence for life where, like, when I'm alone walking down the street, I can really enjoy myself. I'll have headphones in my ears and music will play, and I seriously have to stop myself from dancing in public. I'm serious. I was at the mall today and a song came on and I'm like, damn, it's one of my favorite songs. I'm not gonna dance on this escalator though, you know? And I'm lucky to be filled with so much enthusiasm for this music or for life in general. I don't know how to explain how I get there though. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'd love to.
But you think about listen, right? Maybe if you think about it a bit more, so when you're in that space of how do you get there, and it's possibly just a snap of the music, the beat drops or whatever, like it just bangs. Music can do that.
I think I'll try to formulate an explanation next time.
Yeah. Or
but what
just
about
clarify. Well, for me, I'd rather talk about like feeling disconnect. Well, I like to garden and do different things, but I want to talk about like how when we're disconnected just a little bit, the disconnection, how that can sort of feel, where you feel a bit lost and you feel a bit off there's a lack of stability, and it's kind of like you can't see the forest through the trees,
or you're stuck.
Yeah, stuck in somewhere. And you can be that way for like sometimes a day, sometimes an hour, sometimes like 2 weeks. Like, I feel like I was in that for a little while recently. And, and this is why I just want to be real, because we can feel connected, but then what happens with our disconnection and how do we find our way back in a way?
Yeah, you get stuck in a rut.
Yeah. And I just think like just hearing something. I think I was running a course and I was talking about sympathy and empathy, and it could be just reading something that sort of goes, oh, that's where I'm at, but also sort of trying to process. There's a process. So it's not just going, I'm going to feel connected today. It could actually take you a little while longer to get there.
Yeah. And an example that I go through with this, I'm going to be real as well, in terms of I wake up in the morning. For the whole week last week, I'd wake up in the morning, 5 a.m., grab my phone, and I'd go on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
And while I'm on it, the whole time, I just woke up, I grab my phone, I'm straight on it, straight away. The whole time I'm on it, there's these little nagging thoughts like, Rem, you shouldn't be doing this. Yes. Have a shower, get out of bed.
Yeah.
And it takes me on average like 15 minutes.
Oh, we've got another son here. We're doing a podcast.
Can you turn the camera on? What's up, G?
Like a muscle.
Yeah.
Okay, we better stop it now.
Speaking of light.
Let's stop it now. Thanks,
we
guys.
got family coming over.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
What's up, family?